Bring your cup and take a seat. Fill it up, coffee, wine, or tea. Come find what you're looking for. A good pour.
Welcome back to A Good Pour. I am Kathryn Good. Today we have Ryan Baker with the Sumner County Museum here with us. They are getting ready to celebrate a special anniversary of 50 years with the museum. So I wanted to have him on to just talk about history in the museum and everything that's going to be going on to celebrate this year. So welcome, Ryan.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on the show.
Well, let's start with how you even, Sumner County Museum is a very specific place with a whole lot of stuff inside of it. You were born and raised here, I believe, or...
I think I'm a 10th generation Sumner Countyan.
Okay, so this place is clearly important to you, but why history and why Sumner County Museum?
I was in school... first college try, thought, maybe I wanted to teach history in elementary school, possibly, and then ended up with a degree in leisure, sports, and tourism with a focus on the tourism side. And when I graduated, the museum was, hiring a director and the tourism piece and, my appreciation for history, they just kind of played well together, and the rest is history, so they say. But, that's kind of how I got started there. And, a lot of people say, well, you must know everything about Sumner County. And, for me, it was really, they didn't teach us that in school. I didn't know how cool our history was and how many significant events and things that took place here actually happened in our county until I actually started working at the museum. So it's been a real fun learning experience along the way, as well as fun implementing different programs.
Do you still learn, weekly, something that happened?
Daily. We have a lot of old stuff. As when people ask me, hey, what's in your museum? I'm like, old stuff. But yeah, we do. We have a lot of old stuff, a lot of artifacts. And after, 8, almost 9 years now, I still see something new almost every day that I'm like, I haven't noticed that before. Like, that's really cool. Or I'll find something in storage that I didn't know that the museum owned.
So do you have a go-to favorite story that people may not know about Sumner County history?
Yeah, for sure. And it kind of goes back to finding something in storage and then being like, oh, wow. I think it was like a rainy day and I was looking for something to do. And I was like, well, let's just go through the storage closet or room. And I found a box on the shelf that said buffalo balloon. Oh, well, what is that? So pulled it down, opened it up, and found some newspaper articles and some artifacts that were related to the world's first airmail delivery. And it just happened to be from Nashville to Gallatin in 1877 via a hot air balloon that was actually crafted and flown in Buffalo, New York. And then for some reason, they brought it down to Nashville, Tennessee, and decided to deliver airmail for the first time.
From Nashville to Gallatin?
To Gallatin. So they would take these envelopes and put them inside another envelope. And on that envelope, it said a message from the buffalo balloon. If found, please deliver to the nearest telegraph station. They would tie streamers to it that were like blue and white. And they dropped a few pieces of mail. I couldn't uncover why they did this, why Nashville, why Gallatin. I think it was some sort of publicity stunt maybe. But yeah, world's first airmail delivery.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Who knew?
And yeah, I lived in Buffalo, so that's a just interesting tidbit for me too. So we tell stories a lot on here, and we if you hear me talk, you'll often hear about the importance of stories. Well, there's no better place to tell stories than history and in a museum. So why is history important to you, or why do you think that's good work?
Well, history is important to me. I think because in life, how can you know where you're going if you don't know where you've been? And I think history can really lay out a roadmap and can give you directions and help even, on a governmental level, like not make mistakes of past, experiences and things like that. So I think it also really gives you a sense of community. It helps connect you to stories of the past, and really can lay the foundation for that sense of place and where you live and why you're there, and just give you the ties.
Yeah, even
to
greater, I think, especially with all the, historic homes and the historic, the families that were, you just hear names, like we've got all kinds of roads named after all these families. But, if you go there, you can really start to connect how all these families throughout history, whether it's Nashville or Belmead or here, like how they all knew each other and they would travel to each other's homes. And, all of a sudden when you see a name and you're like, oh, they actually lived here. It's not just the name of a street, if that makes sense. So.
Oh, for sure. And like kind of saying that, we have a lot of ferries, like Walton Ferry, Saunders Ferry, Coles Ferry, and that would have been somewhere where people crossed the river to get to Wilson County or Davidson, different places.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like you're saying, most road names have some sort of tie to a past event, person, place, thing.
The museum's had a lot of growth, at least in events and publicity and inviting people in. I feel like we've been here, let's see, almost 18 years. And some of that's just knowing you and being more involved in the county. But what, just talk a little bit about your events that you do now.
Yeah, so we've got several that are annual events. We just had our night at the museum last Saturday, where we basically bring the museum to life, kind of like the Ben Stiller movie. No dinosaurs though, but
Darn.
You meet about, I think this year we had 14 stops, and so you're learning about a person or a specific exhibit or just a place in time. And it's a lot of fun getting to bring the museum to life, and it's well anticipated.
It sells out, right, all the time.
It's sold out probably 6 weeks to 2 months before the event. So, we have a lot of people asking, well, can you do it again? And,
it's once a year.
It's once a year. It's
a lot of work.
It takes a lot of volunteers. There's a lot of work on the front end. So trying to ask those folks to come back a second night, it's challenging, definitely taxing on the employees and the volunteers too. But really fun event. And then we've got our Historic Haunts bus tour on March 1st, also sold out, which takes guests around to 5 different historic sites after dark. And so they get to tour those after dark. It's probably like 60% history, 40% spooky stories. Last year, Craig Font did like tea readings. And this year we have a medium at one of the stops. But you're also learning about spooky things that happened. Craig Font, there was a girl that lived there who had kept a diary. And in that diary, she had left notes of things that had happened at the home. So you actually get to meet her. Someone portraying her.
Someone portrayed her, I hope.
She tells some of those stories. Yeah. So it's different at each spot. You get a plated dinner at one of the dining rooms in one of the historic homes. So it's a more of a VIP kind of experience. And all the buses are the all access coaches that the country music stars used to tour on. So it's really a VIP experience that the guests get to do once a year. So.
Okay, so before we talk about the barn dance, let's talk about, why do you think people like the ghost paranormal? Is it because it started coming out on TV like when we were kids, or has it always been a thing?
I don't know, but there's a large group of people when we do these events and other sites do some ghost events. Like, people come from all over. They're not just locals. Like, they travel from out of state to come to these paranormal investigations. And I don't know. I always think back to kind of like that Blair Witch movie. And I feel like that was almost like the breeding ground for all this.
So would you say if someone wants to have a marketing event, a paranormal theme is a good theme to do?
I guess so, yeah.
At least at a historic place, for sure.
Absolutely.
Feels like, though, that you almost could attach anything into a ghost story these days. And somebody wants to be a part of it. So, all right, so let's talk about the barn dance. Yep. You are having an event on April 12th?
April 12th.
And what are we celebrating?
So it's going to be our 50th anniversary celebration, and it's kind of funny how this worked out. We were trying to think of something like, everybody has a gala or, different events. And we're like, well, what's something that people aren't doing that people would have attended 50 years ago? And so we came up with the barn dance idea. And that kind of played into another project that we're actually working on, where we're going to be cutting a record and releasing an album from the first band to play on the Grand Ole Opry, which happens to be celebrating their 100th anniversary this year. But when the program first started in 1925, it was actually called Barn Dance.
Wow.
So
Did you know that at the time?
So I had read that before. It wasn't in the forefront of my mind. And then kind of after we started talking about it, I was looking, back through some information. I was like, oh yeah, this was actually called Barn Dance. Before it was called the Opry. They actually changed the name to the Grand Ole Opry in 1927, but it started as Barn Dance on WSM radio. And so the two just tied in.
Yeah, that's super neat that it all came together that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll actually officially release that project to the public and make that announcement. And the band
At Barn Dance?
At the Barn Dance.
Okay.
And so there's a local band called the Lugnuts partnering with us on this. And it just so happened that two of their band members are descendants from the original Possum Hunters, who were that first band. So they're really excited. And then we partnered with Ball State. It's kind of a student-led project. They're doing all the mixing and editing. And we'll open pre-orders in April at the Barn Dance. And then the album release party is tentatively scheduled for August 16th.
Yeah, that's super neat.
Yeah.
What can people expect at the Barn Dance?
So it's going to kind of flip-flop between some kind of popular live music, bluegrass, country music, and that will alternate with like some DJ music of like popular songs with some instruction. So some line dancing instruction and some different types of country music dancing with a live instructor. And so we'll kind of alternate between the two. We'll have, things set up outside, cornhole and different activities. And we'll also have somebody there on site doing barbecue and just some good old food and fellowship and just a good time.
Yeah.
We just want to have a good time, not too much talking and all of that. But we'll talk a little bit about the museum's
and make a big announcement
and make the announcement, and we'll have a sneak peek of a few of those songs. So the Lugnuts will actually play 2 or 3 of the possible.
I was going to say, is
songs
there going to be a band? So I guess
the
it'll be
record.
them. Yeah.
Yep. So they'll be there.
Okay. So the Sumner County Museum, when you just look at the building, like it almost looks like how could it contain as much as it does? I feel like when you walk in, like it's 2 floors.
Yeah, 3
3 floors.
3 floors. It's almost 10,000 square feet, and we're busting at the seams.
You are for sure. So just give an overview of what just high level. What can you find there?
So it's set up pretty much in chronological order. Starts with Native American artifacts, pioneer. Then we have exhibits on blacksmithing, tinsmithing, gunsmithing, information about the old county courthouse, horse racing, which was huge in Sumner County.
Yes.
Before it went over state lines to Kentucky. And Sumner County and its involvement in all the major wars, home life as it was kind of in the 1840s, 1850s. And then we have exhibits, the basement's mostly like entertainment, agriculture, transportation. And then upstairs, you kind of finish before you go out with entertainment, music history of Sumner County.
So, and then are the people who are involved with Sumner County Museum, are they typically, history lovers, but like they've been in Sumner County a long time? Or do you get people, especially just like history and want to come see?
Sure. It's a good mix, actually. We have some volunteers who, my 4th grade teacher's a volunteer at the museum. And then we have, we've got a new volunteer. His name's Larry. He's been volunteering for about maybe 6 months now, but recently moved from California. He was a firefighter, but he did a lot of work at their firefighter museum. So he was looking for something to get engaged with here. And so we've got, new transplants. We've got folks who have deep roots. So just a really wide range.
Do you still need volunteers?
Yeah, we're always looking for more volunteers. We have some volunteers they just want to come in and clean, or some that want to come in and help us go through some of the old artifacts and categorize them. And, for instance, like our cemetery tour, it takes 70 volunteers day of to make happen. So we have a really good pool, a lot of regular volunteers, and then some that are just more event specific. And
do you get a lot of questions about Johnny and June Cash?
Not really. Most of the folks really who are coming now, they just want to know where they've moved to, and they want to know the history of where they've moved to. And probably the most frequently asked question that I get is, how did we get the Gallatin's first fire engine in the basement?
So it's like logistical, like not even about the county. It's how did that get there? That's funny.
And I'm like, well, believe it or not, it used to be on the floor above us.
Wow.
So yeah, that's the number one asked question.
How did you get it to the basement then?
There's actually an access door with a ramp that goes up.
Okay.
But getting it in the main floor was probably more challenging.
Okay. So are there tunnels under Gallatin?
There are. From what I understand, they've all been closed off.
Okay.
So
you haven't walked. You don't have special privilege to walk.
I wish I did. I think that'd be really cool. I know one of the museum founders, John Garrett. I know he has been in them before. And I know there used to be like an access out even all the way out to like Lock 4 Road.
So what were they for? I've heard rumors.
I've heard mixed rumors. I've heard that they were used to move, money sometimes underneath the town from banks to different places and things like that. And heard they were, utilized during the Civil War. So, I don't have any. I can't say for sure, but just kind of what I've heard.
That's neat. Any other myths or I don't know. I feel like I've heard stuff about the courthouse. I don't know. Anything else you can think of?
Yeah. Just some really cool pieces of Gallatin's history. The second tallest person to live lived in Gallatin.
Okay.
Bud Rogan. He was 8 foot, 9 inches, or that might not be completely accurate, but
the second tallest
ever known. We have town of Cairo is really interesting.
Not Cairo. I've heard you talk about this before.
Not Cairo, definitely Cairo. I do a whole spiel when I speak to groups on correct pronunciation of different places in Tennessee and Sumner County.
Yeah, I've heard that. That's a good speech.
The lost city of Cairo. It was a bustling riverboat town that it lost being county seat of Sumner County by 1 vote.
Wow.
And at that time, its land size was quadruple what Gallatin was, its population and everything. And now if you drive through there, you'll see, church, schoolhouse, and maybe a couple old buildings.
So what year was that? Do you know?
It was in the early 1800s.
Okay.
Before roads were really prominent. People would, come off the river, and I heard there was a saloon that was very popular, and hotels and schoolhouses and general stores and blacksmiths and sawmills and everything the town would need.
And so they did a vote between there and Gallatin, and Gallatin won?
Gallatin won by a vote. And Gallatin was really the town seat because you could get to any of the other cities or communities within a day's horseback ride.
Okay.
And so that's how it got to be the county seat.
Well, I like that.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
So Ryan, the last question I like to ask is just what's something good happening in your life that allows you to do more good work, or just something that habit you do either personally or in business that allows you to further your good work.
Sure. So to me, always first give the glory to God. He makes all things possible. But then, family, family and community, I think are, really high up there. And, not just my family, but trying to create that sense of community, sense of place for the community and for others, and trying to leave Gallatin and Sumner County in a better place for our children.
Yeah.
Really strikes home, and gives me the energy to get up and, go back to work day after day and just keep on keeping on.
Well, I mean, y'all have a lot of events that you are at or need to attend, or so you're in a unique position to be, to help people find community and plug in a weird way, and not in a weird way, plug in a good way.
Sure.
So thanks for the work you do there, because I mean, I see you a lot, right? I mean, which is always a good thing, but. There's something about seeing the same people over and over again that gives us a sense of home. So
that's it, for sure. And Gallatin's a good place to live in Sumner County, so we're blessed to be here and just glad to be a part of it.
Me too. Well, thank you for being a guest today.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.